Hello and welcome to India Today. I'm Anjali Istwal. Today, we sit down to have a conversation with the nutritionist who taught us Indians how to lose weight without losing our minds. She may have garnered headlines as a celebrity nutritionist, but soon made a unique space for herself as a champion for eating local and seasonal. In fact, what you can call as simply eating with common sense. Meet Rujuta Diwekar. Thank you so much for joining us and speaking to India Today. So Rujuta, before we start talking about your book, which launched recently, and deep dive into some other trends, I would like to ask you very quickly about one recent trend that you have seen, which is only hype and not much fact.
I think starting your day with various shots, whether it is a ghee shot or a jeera shot or any of those shots, I think.
Methi dana?
Yeah, methi dana shots, yeah. So I would think that's one of the shots which is like just trend and nothing else.
Okay, so there's no common sense to it? Or?
There is no common sense to it. There is also no common sense to eating only protein. There is also no common sense to not eating anything for 16 to 18 hours. But Anjali, honestly, it is this kind of stuff that keeps people like me in business, you know, because otherwise who wants to know that, oh, you can just eat everything, but just eat it in a balanced manner, make exercise a part of your life, sleep on time, and you're sorted.
Okay, then today I'm going to focus purely on common sense questions. So tell me, Rujuta, we see many trends, and social media is something, you know, that gives you information in snippets, and people quickly pick it up. So tell me something, all these trends that we see, starting from one, I will first talk about fasting. Now, fasting for weight loss, fasting for longevity. So first, fasting for weight loss. Does that work?
No, there are no such things as a silver bullet that all that you do is stay hungry for these many hours and you're going to lose weight. What we need to understand is that if weight loss doesn't come with improved bone density, musculature, improved sleep quality, improved exercise compliance, improved regulation of periods, then it's entirely useless. So no, I wouldn't recommend anything that has a name. You know, any diet that has a name is bound to fail. So no dieting for weight loss.
Okay, and what about fasting for autophagy? A lot of experts are out there who are talking about fasting and that it leads to certain actions in your body at cellular level, mitochondria. You know, these are all the words that we read about and listen to on podcasts.
Yeah. And when we listen to all of these words on repeat on podcast and social media, we actually begin to believe in the validity of them, and we begin to believe that this is the whole truth, and that we, you know, forget that we are just drowning in the noise of the narrative, where the fact is that there are enough studies that also show that something like this, like not eating for many hours, could actually lead to, you know, now there are studies that are showing increased incidences of certain gastrointestinal cancers. So there is no one thing that you're going to do which is going to give you a long life. And a long life, we all must ask, of what quality? You know, because quality of life or health span is a lot more important than lifespan.
Okay, but many of these ideas, I would say, are mainstream now. You know, fasting or intermittent fasting, it's commonly known as 6 to 8, OMAD, one meal a day. All these are quite mainstream now.
So absolutely, and which is also why I wrote the book, The Common Sense Diet. You know, just because it is mainstream doesn't mean that it is an intelligent way to lose weight in a manner that is sustainable and healthy for your body. We have to know that, you know, even science now knows that body weight is an imperfect clinical measure for assessing health. So you can't be picking up a routine that is only giving you weight loss but taking away from your day-to-day functionality. So it's important that we keep our view on functionality, our energy levels, sleep quality, exercise compliance, sugar cravings, waist to hip ratio, because that's going to matter to your good health a lot more than how much you weigh.
That's quite a wholesome approach you're talking about, and very integrated, I would say, that multiple markers, not just one or two.
Absolutely,
that should be kept
absolutely.
In mind. Okay,
yes.
So fine, let's move on to another interesting topic that keeps surfacing nowadays. We see so many celebrities who have lost so much weight, you know, and a lot of hashtag Ozempic, GLP-1 blockers keeps going on. What is your opinion about these new age medicines?
Well, I think if you're actually using it as a medicine for a certain purpose, someone's actually looking at you, maybe it has some kind of a validity, but using it for vanity or thinking that if you did knock off weight, a whole lot of host of health benefits are going to come your way, then that's not quite the case. Even when it comes to all of these drugs, the kind of gastrointestinal distress that they bring, or even certain mental health issues that they bring are now well documented. So you need to be very, very careful. Don't do something dangerous for the sake of vanity.
Okay. So even the idea of, have you heard about micro-dosing?
Yeah.
You think even that doesn't work?
Well, I really think that we need to follow something that we can live with for the rest of our life.
Sustainable.
And we need to, sustainability is really at the core, should be at the core of everything that we do, whether it is picking up a career or a husband or a weight loss regime. And we must also remember that in our life, we need to do many things to feel happy about ourselves. Just losing weight is not going to help us feel happy. So we need our bandwidth free to pursue all the dreams, ambitions, aspirations, and adventure that we seek in life, and not exhaust it with the whole idea of weight loss.
Oh, absolutely, I agree with you. It's energy is
absolutely
something that should be important for us. Okay, so quite clearly, you're not in favor of these medicines, but there is another thing that we are hearing a lot about right now, which is the anti-inflammatory diet. In fact, many believe that there is a lot of inflammation that makes you hold on to weight, not fat. So we've seen some celebrities also propagating it and getting trolled in the media as well. So what is your opinion about inflammation and anti-inflammatory diet?
Well, I think one of the things is that we must understand that inflammation is also a necessary physiological process of the body which helps protect you from many kinds of diseases. Of course, it should not be confused with chronic inflammation. And then if you had chronic inflammation due to whatever kind of reason, you would need a medical intervention. So it is not something which just a diet was going to fix. But how do you ensure that the inflammation that you have is actually working to your benefit? That you do by being on a wholesome diet where you're eating ghar ka khana. You do that by sleeping on time. You do that by making exercise a part of your life. And you do that by keeping away from, for the lack of better words, negativity or narratives or social media. Then you know that, you don't need to be, then you're not inflamed or any of those things, So I don't believe in any of the anti-inflammatory diets and stuff.
So you're telling me the ginger shot that I take every day with a squeeze of lemon juice is not
is
going to
only
help?
wasting your ginger and lemon shot and not doing anything to your body.
Okay. So anti-inflammatory diet, another sort of myth busted by Rujuta.
Yeah.
But Rujuta, what about longevity? I am quite surprised to see the new generation also is talking about longevity at a very young age now, Longevity is something we started thinking about much later. But this is a priority for the younger generation now. So what is your opinion about longevity? And then I'm going to subsequently ask you some more questions.
Okay. See, my opinion on longevity is that, I'm not really excited by the idea of longevity. I think that if we are looking at longevity, then what we really need to look at are policy interventions which make our life a good one, So whether it is having walkable cities, whether it is having lesser pollution, whether it is ensuring that there is enough nutritious food for all of us who, who live together. Those are the things that interest me a lot more than just some people living a very long life. Aging is a natural process. Aging, in fact, is a blessing. And I'm all for embracing the whole process of aging versus looking young and going on forever and ever. We must go when our time is due and make room for the younger generation to live a full life. I guess, in some way, even a retirement is a way of just that, right? Making room for the younger, for the newer, for the better, but ensuring that you've left the earth or left the position in a better place. So longevity, unfortunately, is just business as usual. There is nothing wrong with looking your age or, looking older than what you used to look 20 years ago. And social media has ensured that even kids and especially girls as young as 10, 11 and sometimes even 8 are buying anti-aging creams and anti-aging products and trying to like live long, where actually in fact their life has not even begun yet. So I guess once you've lived long enough, maybe once by the time you reach middle age, you realize that the quality of your life and the quality of your friendships and the quality of your work and the quality of everything that you do on a day-to-day basis is a lot more important than just the quantity of, of all these things, including the length of your life.
That's quite an interesting take. Longevity, I would agree with you that, it's not that important if it doesn't come with health.
Yes.
So maybe activity and being active and healthy during your later years is probably more important.
That's a lot more important, for which what you do in your middle age is very important. Because we now know that aging happens in 2 big spurts, one at 44, one at 60. So, the decisions that you make from 40 to 60, I mean, all throughout actually, from 0 to until now. But I guess in your middle age, all the more important. So don't do anything extreme with your diet. Don't do anything extreme with your exercise. Have a balanced routine, because life now is any which way is going to be long. But the Indian thought about longevity has always been that, you'll hear your grandmothers and stuff saying this, that I want to live as long as I can be on my feet and I can fend for myself. I can do all my basic chores myself. I am much more interested in that idea of longevity, that you live in a way where while you're still active and truly alive and not just surviving.
Okay, since we've talked about so many trends, and it feels to me there is a common thread in your answers, and that is sustainability and a normal way of living. So Rujuta, why don't you advise to our viewers what should be a normal day for healthy living for a person in terms of eating or drinking anything?
I think, see, one of the things that we have in our country is just, the diverse culinary practices that we all have. And one of the things that we must do is that we have to work at maintaining that. But the common thread across is to wake up in the morning, maybe start your day with some fruits, nuts, then have a chai or a coffee, have a healthy, wholesome breakfast that is made at home. Have your lunch on time between 11 and 1 o'clock.
What about 30 grams of protein in the breakfast?
And a smoothie. No, none of that, because we are then left just counting things. In fact, in my book, I have this one phrase, it's a Gujarati phrase, it's called 1 lakh to 12,000. Like if you have something, you're wholesome, like your poha, upma, paratha is like an investment of 1 lakh. Now you try and increase the protein content of it by like doing weird, random things, which you will 100% not do even in the 3rd month. Forget, having the capacity to do it in the 3rd year. What you actually do is that you reduced the value of 1 lakh to 12,000. So you're now just grappling with 12,000. And I think nutritionism, looking at food for a certain nutrient, this thing for protein, that thing for prebiotic, that for omega-3 fatty acid, is just this, reducing the wholesomeness of food, reducing the value of 1 lakh of rupees to 12,000. So don't do that. Just have a healthy, wholesome breakfast, which has a name in your mother tongue or in the language of the region you live in. Have your lunch on time, have a healthy, wholesome breakfast a nashta between 4 and 6 p.m. in the evening, a matri, a paratha, a kela, something like that, and just go back home and have dinner. See, actually, it doesn't have to be complicated. So I really think dieting and dating are not complicated unless you decide to make them complicated.
Well, only you think so, Rajita.
Yeah.
Okay, so you say, keep it normal, keep it sustainable. And from what I could gather, you were probably saying, don't make a huge fixed deposit, keep monthly SIPs active.
Keep monthly,
okay, so that's probably how you will get your wealth.
Yes, you'll get your wealth by doing a little bit every single day, because, it is the consistency that matters. So eat healthy, wholesome meals. They have different names in all different languages that we speak in. And, a little bit of rice, roti, millets, vegetables, fruits, nuts, legumes for those who eat meat, eggs, a part of that too. So I think that's how you need to build your diet. One that is rooted in being local, seasonal and traditional.
Okay. Now that you mentioned millets, many people have just cut out rice and wheat, and they have focused only on millets. What is your opinion on that? Many have claimed to reverse their diabetes via that.
Yeah. The whole thing is that we should never fall for claims that people are making. Including millets in our diet is very healthy. Giving up on rice and wheat and then going completely millet is, I think, the other extreme. And unfortunately, today dieting or staying healthy has become synonymous with being extreme about the approach that we are taking. Where in fact, the whole point of being healthy is about being in a state of balance, So you need to bring about that state of balance. Have your millets, but millets also have certain seasons. Different millets should be eaten in those kind of seasons, like bajra in winters, for example. You could be eating ragi right now, or even a jawari. And during your upavas or fast, the kuttu, the rajgira. So there is a millet for every season and every reason. Work at understanding that and then begin to practice that in your homes, and don't just blindly replace all rice with millet. And unfortunately, now I also see the trend of the pizza base being traded for a millet, the chips being coming of a millet. I think there are now even burger buns that you get of millet. So that obviously is not really the sensible way to go. So I think we should all not let go of our common sense for the sake of, any nutrient or food.
Okay, quickly let's focus on feeding our children. When you mention pizza and burger, of course it brings me to the topic of children. It's very difficult to change eating habits of children. So people who want to introduce healthy habits, what is your advice to them?
I think eat healthy yourself. That's the best way to get your children to eat healthy. And also know that keep your children away from eating anything that has an ad, So if there's an ad, it's bad. It's terrible for your children. So whether it is cookies, it is colas, it is all of these powders, or, even the cereals, 2-minute noodles, that's the stuff that your children should not be eating. And thirdly, I would say make peace with the fact that children like to throw around a fuss a little bit while they're eating. They take their time to eat. But if your child is complaining about getting only boring food in their home, then you are raising your child in a very healthy home. So have that assurance and, allow your child to complain. They stop complaining after a while. They know कि अगर रोटी सब्जी बनी है तो यही मिलने वाला है, तो then they begin to eat that.
I like that advice.
Yeah.
Make boring food.
Yes, make food absolutely boring so that life remains very interesting and they're able to pursue great things in their life. Food should become very default, very basic, very commonsensical.
It should be for sustenance and not for enjoyment.
No, it should be for enjoyment too. It should also be for indulgence. It should be for a sense of security.
Okay.
But you can't abuse those qualities of food, So you can't be doing that on a day-to-day basis. On a day-to-day basis, it's for nourishment. And then on some days, it is for enjoyment. And on some days, it is, it is an indulgence.
Okay. So now that we've talked a lot about diet, let's talk a little bit about some trends that get picked up, especially with women. I have seen of certain age, it gets picked up and then it gets propagated very easily. So nowadays, perimenopause is a big challenge for women.
Correct.
And everywhere you have information. I've even seen some things like ashwagandha craze, just like popping ashwagandha pills and turmeric pills for curcumin and everything. So what is your opinion about that?
Well, I think, whether it is turmeric, we've always known how to use turmeric, in what combination, in what proportion and in what portion. Now that we know that there is curcumin which could have like certain beneficial properties, we cannot overdose on turmeric for this one nutrient. The combination, proportion and portion must be looked after. Only then do you receive all the therapeutic properties that are due. Otherwise, it's just a pill. And ashwagandha, in fact, even got banned in Denmark because anything that is overdosing just doesn't work. Everything in the right portion, proportion, combination, that's the only way to really enjoy the glory of all the herbs and spices that we have in the country.
Okay, so a big challenge that people face in terms of choosing supplements is that, you know, you don't really have medical doctors advising very clearly on it. So people look towards internet, people look towards influencers for this. So what would you suggest? What is your opinion about supplements?
That a supplement should just be a supplement and it cannot become the mainstay of your day or of your life.
It can't be a bowl of supplements.
Yeah, it cannot be a bowl of supplement. But if you popped one or two, I would think that it's fine. You know, a supplement can only be a part of a wholesome diet, regular exercise program, regular sleep time, and having a good quality of life. You know, it isn't something that can wash away the ills of not having done the basic commonsensical things.
So if I may be bold enough to ask you, if there is a supplement that you would suggest, keeping age in mind and gender in mind, what would you suggest for various age groups and gender groups?
No, there is no supplement that I would recommend for, you know, a specific age group or a specific gender. In fact, you could get on with your life and have a rather good one without really needing any kind of a supplement if you just ate food which was in season, cooked it at home and ate that food on time. You know, you don't really need a supplement to make up for whatever perceived deficiencies that you think you have. See, the thing is that nutrition science just about knows a few nutrients or a few molecules that food has. Food has many more than what we have discovered, managed to name and study functions for. So we know about 1500 or 2000 nutrients maybe, but we know that there is a lot that we don't know, and there could be up to 2 lakh molecules, maybe even more, and their action, their function is not entirely known. But if you look at scientific studies, what we see over and over is that if people eat within their cultural traditions, if they eat according to their personal preferences, you know, whether it is about being a veg or a non-veg or vegetarian, non-vegetarian and stuff like that, if they eat within their budgetary constraints, then they can have and they do enjoy a good life, and they can have wholesome nourishment by just doing this, eating local, seasonal and traditional. Because you know, the supplement in vogue today is going to be the villain 5 years later, you know, and it's just going to be replaced by another
and then maybe come back like the Atkins diet.
Yes.
Hero, villain, villain, again and a cycle.
So how many times will you change your diet? How many times will you change the pill that you're popping? You know, just pick something that you can do for the rest of your life.
Right. The local and seasonal really resonates, I think, all across the world. We've seen Blue Zone, we've seen Mediterranean, but when you pick that up, that Blue Zone diet, the Mediterranean diet, and bring it to, say, India, what do you think is the mistake that people make? You know, that they go, oh, I'll go for a Mediterranean diet.
You know, in fact, someone was just saying this to me that maybe someone should just study the Malabar diet, you know, because we are on the coast. No, there isn't. You know, we are making it. We are calling it. See, if you study practices of a certain region and call it Mediterranean diet, then someone from a region that doesn't belong to Mediterranean shouldn't be following that practice.
Not an Alaskan for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, or even an Indian. What you have to know is that what the study shows, or what these kind of studies show, is that when people eat within their economic and ecological means, they enjoy good health. So you need to look for foods which are within your economic and ecological means, you know, food that has not traveled a long distance to land on your plate, food that has not been converted into a product. So just very simply eating the stuff that is in season, eating stuff that has a name in your local language, eating food that is cooked in time-tested proportions, and then you have your own version of any kind of a healthy diet that you want to be on. And I think maybe we should do a study, call it the Malabar diet, so that people can see that if you just ate, you know, a roti, sabzi, dal, chawal also, you could have a very, very healthy life, you know.
Okay, so picking up from that, let's say if I want to talk about certain superfoods that have gotten imported onto our plate, what would be the substitutions? Quinoa,
Okay. But before that, I just want to say, you know, that the people in the Mediterranean region currently are also facing a whole lot of obesity. And that's because they have moved away from their own traditional diets. So when people move away from traditional diets, they become obese. Now, you know, if you're looking at substitutions, my thing would be like, you don't need to substitute. What you have is already healthy. So, you know, you have millets, you have wheat, you have rice, you don't really need a quinoa.
What about avocado? A lot of people are in love with it.
You know,
Expensive.
yeah. I just feel that if the food that you're eating has a name only in English and in no other language, then it's not worth eating. In fact, in my book, The Common Sense Diet, I have something called as the BBB formula. I call it the Boston, Bangkok and Bangalore formula. So if you have any food which is available in all three countries that is known by the same name and by the same nutritional benefits, don't have it. So, you know, quinoa is in the BBB formula, so is avocado, so is dark chocolate, because Boston, Bangkok, Bangalore, you're going to eat it for the exact same reasons, know it by the exact same name.
And so, same with chia seeds?
Yes, same with chia seeds, same with any of these trends that are currently rage.
I do like this idea. At least it's easy on the pocket for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, instead of buying expensive imported food, go for something local in season. Okay, then why don't you give us an example of some superfoods which are of Indian origin?
I think rice, ghee, turmeric, you know, ajwain, all of these things are good. In fact, I think the superness of, you know, the super thing about Indian food is that it is diverse, it is versatile, and you can use one ingredient to make multiple things. Even if you just take rice, I think you can make just a regular steamed rice out of it, you could make a biryani out of it, you could make kheer out of it, you could make a dosa out of it. So the versatility and the diversity is the super power of our diet.
So you don't think there is one superfood, it's more about being versatile.
Absolutely,
That is what
and diverse.
Okay, that's an interesting take on superfood. So I'm going to quickly now ask you your opinion and rate a few trends. Okay, that have been going, let's say 2024 or 2025 trends that I'm going to quickly ask you. Now, collagen supplement.
No.
No, not even drinking collagen or eating some marine collagen?
No, you know, we cannot say, oh, these are not my lines, these are my medals and my wrinkles and stuff. You have to embrace aging because it is your body which has allowed you to live a good life.
Then what about paya soup?
Paya soup is okay. See, you know, paya soup, no one's having paya soup for collagen. You know, have paya soup
They're
for
doing
paya
the
soup.
bone broth trend nowadays.
Yeah. No, having a paya soup is fine, but having it for a certain kind of a skin and stuff is something that you need to stay away from.
What about supplements like resveratrol, NMN, NAD, all longevity?
Same thing, same thing. I really think that, you know, we need to look at good quality life, know that living forever is not half as, you know, exciting as it is made out to be. Everything must go in the right time and hopefully in the right way. That's the kind of life that we should be aspiring for, and we should vacate the earth when our time comes so that the next generation has a good life.
Rujuta, you're clearly killing all the influencers. What about biohacking, cold plunges? What about that?
I think the only biohacking that you need is that you should eat more ghar ka khana.
Ghar ka khana. That should be the topic of the headline of this interview. Okay, gut cleanse.
New way to, you know, to detox yourself. But again, you know, we don't need anything expensive to clean our insides. We have the skin, lungs, kidney, liver, everything is cleaning us and, you know, detoxing us free of cost, minute to minute. We don't need to go to any farm and spend money to clean up our bodies.
Probiotic, prebiotic?
If you add 8 dahi chawal, it would be a combination of pre and probiotic. You know, we just don't position it like
dahi
that.
Chawal. Yeah. Should we put the kadi patta
sure,
ka
of course. Why not?
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'm going to include it in my meal.
Yes, please do.
Definitely. So we've got a good list from you, quite an exhaustive list of what we should do. And I know you are slightly short on time. But before you leave, can you give us one last mantra which you feel should be the focus of all Indians for a healthy future 2025 onwards?
I think number one would be adopting Ghar Ka Khana as the main thing that we do. Number two would be striving to have gender neutral kitchens. We do need men working in the kitchen so that we can continue to savor the goodness of Indian food for the next, for the coming generations too. And the third thing would be to make time for exercise. I think if we just manage to do these three things, we are in a good place.
Well, that's quite a simple formula you've told us, and I hope that our viewers will be able to pick some important notes from that. Thank you, Rujuta. And we'll close the show with the same advice that Rujuta has given us. Ghar Ka Khana, and Ghar Ka Khana means you need to learn how to cook and teach your future generation also how to cook, because you then have your health in your own hands. Thank you for watching.